I'm Jay Jackson, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how I gained complete control over my weight and turned this 310-pound guy into a fat-burning machine. Welcome to episode 9 of the ChoZen FroZen.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. Baby, bounce.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the episode. I hope you're having a fantastic weight loss journey as I am, and I'm so honored that you would include the ChoZen FroZen as part of it. Now, of course, before we start anything, please hit that subscribe button. Also hit a like and share this with your friends, and hit that bell that says all notifications so you can get the notifications when we put out a new video, and I certainly plan to put out a lot. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know that we break it down to 3 segments. First, I talk about the mathematics of weight loss, and I give you some very specific numbers of how I lost the weight. Second, we talk about the practice of weight loss, and that's how I show you the rhythm that I got in that allows me to lose the weight when I want, how I want. And finally, I talk about the ChoZen, and that's for the more advanced ChoZen FroZen subscribers who already found that rhythm, and I give them some tips on what to eat and how to deal with their weight. Now, let's talk about weight loss. First, before we do anything, download one of these apps, something like a MyFitnessPal app or the Noom app, and these apps allow you to put in the calories all throughout the day that you will be measuring, because it's important to measure the calories on these apps. It's not something that's tedious, but it is important to measure it, and these apps will make it a lot easier for you. All right, so let's get into the mathematics of weight loss. Now, as I've always said, weight loss is simple. Weight loss is just a matter of numbers. And what I did was I consumed 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. Again, I'll say that, you know, it's as simple as that. I consumed 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories, and I still do that, and I'm still losing weight. I mean, this guy here, you see here, he was 310 pounds, and he was basically eating himself to death. Then I figured out there's something I had to do, and I went to these apps, and I read some materials, and I broke down these numbers, and it has been very successful for me. 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. Now, to get really specific, let me show you how that breaks down into a daily fat loss situation. I consumed around 2,000 calories, between 1,800 and 2,000 calories, right? Well, that brings down my weight 0.3 pounds every day if I'm around that weight. And this is just an average, right? This is over a period of time, 0.3 pounds. Well, that's not a lot, of course, but then if you put that into a week, every day, 7 days, that adds up to 2.1 pounds. That's starting to do something. And now 8.4 pounds over a month, and you're going to see your body changing. You're going to start hearing compliments. And then let's go say 10 months. And right now it's July. 10 months from now, I'm going to be doing my taxes, and that's coming up in my mind. So 10 months isn't that far away. We're talking about 84 pounds gone. Who would not want to lose 84 pounds, especially if you've been struggling with weight all of your life? And it's these numbers that got me here. 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. I get to about 1,500 to 2,000 calories by the end of the day, but I know I'm going to be down at least 0.3 pounds by the next day when I get on that scale. I know it's going to be around 2.1 pounds at the end of the week. I know it's going to be around 8.4 pounds, give or take, at the end of the month. And then I haven't been doing this for 10 months, but at 10 months, I know I'm going to be at least 84 pounds down, if not more. Now, as always, there is a question of the day, and the question today is, how fast can I expect to lose weight? Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people will post videos and have programs and show you things where you can lose 9, 10 pounds a week. No. Talk to any nutritionist, talk to any dietitian, any professional. They will tell you that the most weight you want to lose in a week is around 2 pounds. That's the most. They will suggest 1 pound to 1.5 pounds, but they will also say 2 pounds. Now, I'll say 2.1 on this plan, but you know, that's close enough. So when you're talking about losing more than 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds a week, you're talking about losing muscle mass. And then those are the people who lose weight, but their skin is saggy and they look ashen and old, and they don't look healthy even though they've lost weight. If you lose it at a slow tempo like this, 2 pounds a week, you're going to look fit, you're going to look great, your skin's going to look great, and you're going to be very happy with yourself and your accomplishment. Okay, let's move on to the practice of weight loss. And welcome to the practice of weight loss. This is where I talk about how to get into the rhythm of losing weight. Remember, I'm dealing with 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. So what I do is I go to my clock and I say, okay, I'm going to start eating at 8 o'clock. Well, 3 hours from 8 o'clock is 11 o'clock. So I have another 300-ish calorie meal. And then after that, it's going to be 2 o'clock, another 300-ish calorie meal. And then 5 o'clock, 300-ish calorie meal. And then 8 o'clock, 300-ish calorie meal. That's generally when I stop eating. For the meals, that's around 1,500, 1,600 calories. Because remember, we're talking about 300-ish, give or take, between 200 and 400. But 300 is a nice round even number. Okay, so we're talking about 300-ish calories. So I'll end up around 1,500 to 1,600 calories. Well, I give myself 2,000 calories in the day. That's how I know I'm going to lose at least 0.3 pounds. And that gives me a lot of room to play with. Sometimes I have coffee with creamer. Sometimes I might even have a donut. Sometimes I might have a glass of wine or two or whiskey or anything like that you know you're going to do to live a normal life without restricting yourself. Because the problem with those of us who have problems with food and eating is that it's very difficult for us to restrict ourselves. I mean, it's a mental thing, I guess. I mean, you know, people talk about food and eating disorders. It's probably somewhere wrapped up in that. I'm not a professional in any of that. I'm just telling you my experience, and I know what happens with other people who have been battling weight based on conversations I've had over the years. Sometimes you just got to have that donut. You got to have that cheesecake. You got to have that steak. You got to have that daiquiri. You know, it's just in us. So if you go 300 calories every 3 hours up to 2,000 calories, you're going to have about 400 or 500 calories left after the meals to play with. And that's a lot of calories to deal with some of the things, our vices, if you will, when it comes to consuming things. So what I do is break it down again to a time of day. I start eating at 8 o'clock. My next meal is at 11 o'clock. The next one's at 2 o'clock, then 5 o'clock, then 8 o'clock. All of these are 300-ish calorie meals, giving me a lot of room to play with at the end of the day. Let's say that you start eating later in the day at 9 o'clock. Well, then you're 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. These are all 300-ish calorie meals. You might eat earlier in the day. Then you start, let's say you start eating at 7 o'clock. Then it's 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. But anyway, every 3 hours, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Now, you're not going to be right on the 3 hours, but every day around 300, every day around 3 hours. So this is important now. Those times of day will become very important to you. Those times of day will become very important to you. Your day will cycle around those 3 hour intervals in which it's time to eat, because once you get into the rhythm of eating 300-ish calories every day, every 3 hours, you're going to start to see that weight come off, and you're going to start to get compliments, and you don't want anything to mess that up. So you will focus on those 3 hour intervals, 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You'll be able to rattle those times off like I do. You know, it could be, like I said, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. That's the 9 o'clock eater. The 7 o'clock eater is 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. All of these 3 hour intervals, you're eating 300-ish calorie meals, and that's how you will get into the rhythm of losing weight, and that is the practice of weight loss.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. Baby, bounce.
Hey ChoZens, welcome to episode 9. Hope you guys are feeling great. I know that weight's coming off and you're feeling good. Your clothes are fitting different. You're starting to get some compliments by now. If you haven't been to this section, just to let you know, this section, the ChoZen, is for the more advanced ChoZen FroZen subscribers. Someone who is in the rhythm of eating every 3 hours, 300-ish calories, and you're starting to see the weight come off. And I remind you once again that, you know, as far as this plan goes, there are no food restrictions. Do not restrict yourself when it comes to food. You can eat donuts, you can eat vegetarian meals, you can eat barbecue, you can eat anything you want, as long as it's around 300 calories every 3 hours. If it's a big meal at one time, you know, break it down to where you see it's about 300 calories, box the remainder up, and then eat it at your next 3 hour interval. So that's how you break down those big meals. So always remember, though, and I have to stress this because I get this question a lot, you do not have to restrict yourself when it comes to eating. You can have the carbs, you can have the breads, you can have the sugars, you can have wine, you can have liquor, you can have anything. You know, just as long as it's around 300 calories, 300 hours. But of course, there are better choices. You know, those types of foods will zap up 300 calories in 2 bites. But, you know, some of the better choices are what I go to, the frozen foods. And the frozen foods are great because they're efficient, they're safe, and the modern frozen food is a wonder of health. It carries pretty much all the nutrients that you need in a day and run frozen meals. So that's why I recommend these things, and I do love them. So our chosen meal today is a Marie Callender's slow roasted beef. It's only 260 calories, and you can see it looks delicious, and it certainly is. As always, we pop it in the mic. We make sure we follow the instructions as far as stirring go. Now, here's an example of not following the instructions. I didn't follow the instructions on this one because I was kind of in a rush. But now you see, as we played it, it's kind of watery there. It looks non-appetizing, although we're going to fix it up in a bit. But that's why you want to follow the instructions, because you want to make this good, and you also want to, of course, let it cool off before you start biting into it, because you never want to burn your palate. Now, as always, I color match my seasonings just to have a little fun with this, turn this into a little art, and it's always surprising when you go with the color match versus what you think is a better flavor match. And that's fine to do it that way. This is just something something different. So I go with the color match here, and what I do is take a look at the picture of the food or the food itself, and notice the colors that jump out at me. First, of course, I'm looking at all the brown. That's the roast beef. And so here I'm going with cracked pepper. Cracked pepper isn't quite black. It isn't quite, brownish, but it's brownish. So that's close enough. I'm looking at the green beans. That is telling me I need a green seasoning. In this case, it's going to be a green herb. It's going to be rosemary. Rosemary is always interesting here. Now, I'm looking at the orange carrots. I'm going with something unique, seasoned meat tenderizer. That's an orange colored seasoning, so that's going to be helpful here too. And finally, looking at the white potatoes. I'm going with the chili and garlic sea salt. Chili and garlic sea salt. And it's going to be an excellent flavor, a unique and surprising flavor. So that is the recommendation this time around on episode 9, Marie Callender's slow roasted beef. Don't do like I do. Make sure that you follow the instructions and stir it up so when you plate it, it looks very appetizing. And of course, you always want to have a little side salad that's helpful when it comes time for evacuating. That's all I'm going to say on that. Anyway, going back in review, here's Marie Callender's. Here are the recommended seasonings and herbs on this one. It's cracked black pepper for the brownish color. We got rosemary for the green. We have seasoned meat tenderizer. That's going to be for the orange colored carrots. And finally, for the white colored potatoes, we got chili and garlic sea salt. Now, in review, once again, for the whole ChoZen FroZen plan, remember the mathematics of weight loss: 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. Okay, you're going to lose, well, average around 0.3 pounds lost per day, 2.1 per week, 8.4 per month, and then finally 84 pounds in 10 months, which is just incredible. It's staggering. You're gonna just be blown away by yourself and never change the way you eat. And let's get into the practice of weight loss. Some of you will be called 8 o'clockers. I'm an 8 o'clocker because I start at 8 o'clock. I go 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Some of you will be niners. That's what I call them now, niners. 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Some of you will be seveners, that's 7. You start at 7 o'clock, so 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So those are the mathematics of weight loss. That's how you practice weight loss, and I'll show you the ChoZen. Now let me just end with this. As a visualization, I can't say that word. Imagine there is a machine inside of your body that is constantly eating fat, and that machine needs gasoline in the form of calories. Well, if you give it 300 gasoline calories every 3 hours, that's going to keep that machine running right in the sweet spot where it's not going to get too full and it's not going to get too empty. It's like a car. If you put too much gas in, you're going to flood the engine. If you put too little in, the engine's not going to start. But if you give it the right amount of gas, it's going to run like a fine-tuned machine. And that's what your fat eater is doing. You have to establish a relationship with that fat eater inside of you. In fact, I give mine a name. I call him Seymour, like, Feed Me Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. I know the guy's name is Seymour, not the plant, but it just reminds me of that. So I call mine Seymour. Seymour needs 300 calories every 3 hours, and I know he's going to burn fat all the time for me. If you establish a relationship like that with your fat burner, you will learn this. Stop feeding yourself. Start feeding your fat burner. Feed him 300 calories every 3 hours, every day, up to 2,000 calories. Doesn't always have to be 2,000 calories, but up to 2,000 calories, and he will be happily working for you, burning that fat every single day. All right, that's it for episode 9. Thank you for tuning in to the ChoZen FroZen. Once again, please, please, please hit the subscribe button. Tell some friends about this. We're changing the world one person at a time, one meal at a time. Take care.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. Baby, bounce. Come on, bounce, bounce, bounce. Baby, bounce for me. I like the way it snap back. put it on Snapchat. Make it go clap, clap, clap. I'm gonna need a nap, nap. Got the bed squeaking. Baby girl, you freaking. No need for speaking. Look back, get a peeking. Tell me how you lie.